Welcome to Romance Writers Therapy. We are coming at you. Hard and fast. And soaking wet. No, you're not going to say it?
I did. I whispered it. You'll be able to hear it on my audio.
Oh, okay. I could not hear it.
I whispered it all lurid like.
Oh, that's gonna be so fantastic when I
absolutely. When you get to hear my joke, it'll make you laugh.
Oh, all right. I can't wait to laugh. I hope listener is already laughing, because God.
Listener, you too could have an obnoxious friend like me. Kate, are you gonna tell them who we are?
Oh God, we need to do that. So I'm Kate Pryor.
Kate Pryor.
And that is
Marty V.
You can't do this to me. So we were gonna talk about the third installment of our Gwen Hayes romancing.
Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the first two, because they are up.
First, well, technically 3.
Well, no,
because we did do a preamble.
That's right. By the time you're hearing this, the other 3 will be up. So, but right now,
and even though this is the 4th episode on it, it is only technically the 3rd part.
It's true. Well, because you know what? Sometimes introductions run away from you. Sometimes you really need to explain to people what you plan to talk about. So
sometimes your prologue becomes like a whole first book.
This is like not a good story. In my newsletter.
Oh, okay. Well, then you should tell
yeah,
it.
I know, right? In my newsletter, I was like, for January, I was like, hey, these are all the cool things coming. And I was like, thanks for being a part of the prologue of my story. And I just thought, like, that now I hear prologue and it's like this endearing line to me. Anyway.
Aw.
You know.
I thought it was a bad story because
no, it's just
terrible things happened in it.
It's just bad because nothing really happens.
Climactic.
Yeah. It's just bad because it's just not really a story. So
downgrade it from story to anecdote.
Yeah. I think the proper label would make it more acceptable.
I try not to say to people, oh, I have a story about that. Sometimes I say, I have 2 lines about that.
That is really cute.
Because I feel so bad when I start saying something and then, like, the cadence of my voice suggests that it's going to be funny at some point, and then it's like, oh, I don't have a punchline. I'm just talking.
No, that's just the tone of my voice. I'm so used to me being funny that I just sound funny all the time. So
I'm always ramping up to it. It's like one of those old cars that you just have to like continually turn that thing in the front of the engine. And like, eventually the engine's gonna start.
You gotta turn it over. Yeah. The crank,
yes. So
how long can
you were telling me earlier? Oh, what were you doing?
I just like lost track of like anything to say, and then the silence just kept on stretching, and I was like, I got nothing. So
I know, I was like, did we both lose track of it at
we
the same time?
We did. Fully silent.
Well, so usually we start off this thing by talking about our writing days.
Yeah.
Or where we're at.
Well, okay, so right now I am still editing, as I will be doing for the rest of my life. But I'm at a point where I'm editing, but I'm writing a new scene that I thought was going to be its own chapter, but I think I've decided I can pigeon it into another chapter, but if it starts getting too long, it can be its own chapter. And like, I'm doing good for my deadline, getting everything to my editor, but I'm definitely to like the harder half. More edits are necessary in this last half. I just need to not lose momentum. Like, as long as I keep on trucking along, I really can do, now this is if I don't take any weekends off or any days off at all, but I really can do half a chapter a day and be fine.
Yeah.
But, you know, then the fear is like, don't lose this momentum. What about you? How's your writing going?
Well, so, I wish I'd spent that time
thinking
instead of like plucking my eyelashes out. So you know how I've been working on the sequel to my my Lich story.
Mm-hmm.
Today I was like, well, what if I worked on Night and Shade instead? As I do.
Yep. Which is award-winning,
You know, like,
so you should finish it.
My award-winning unfinished manuscript. But, you know, I think the reason I stopped working on that thing was because I needed to work on the sequel to the Lich story. Mm-hmm. Not needed to, but, like, I felt obligated to, even though there was absolutely no need for it.
Except for I'm emotionally invested, so you have to finish it.
You're emotionally invested in everything.
Shut up! So true, though. I just care so much.
You do. Anyway, so so I started working on Night and Shade, and one of the reasons I had kind of decided to put it to the side yet again was that I had come up against a big structural change that I felt I needed to make in order to finish the story, which was essentially changing out the story's main antagonist.
Yeah, it's a big
which
one.
Is something, funnily enough, because this story used to be a older draft, like a lot of like the bones of this story are from another story I had worked on years ago, which was just called Star Sweeper.
Okay.
That was also a story that I just kept changing out the villain, and I couldn't decide who it was gonna be.
Okay, well, I think you're really onto something here with who you picked.
Yes, I do think this new change is gonna work. But anyway, so it was such a overwhelming undertaking in my mind. I was like, I have to go through and read from the beginning and find every instance that they talk about this and change it all. But today I found something else that I was procrastinating even more on.
Okay.
And I was like, what if I just opened that document and I just searched every instance that I say the word king.
Okay, I thought this was I thought this was the same thing because I saw that tweet.
Oh, yeah.
It's not the same.
No,
it's not the same story.
This is the same story.
Okay, thank God. Okay. I'm like, you're changing out the king in two stories?
Yeah,
we might actually have to intervention.
No, I was procrastinating on a work project.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Because I edit 2 podcasts, and of the 2, ours is more exciting and enjoyable to edit.
Yeah.
And the other one, sometimes the people who are interviewed are very
dry,
soft-spoken, very dry. They talk about retail management, the future of technology, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that sounds.
And I do struggle getting through that sometimes.
Yeah, I would struggle with that too.
Yeah, so I was kind of putting that off, and I was like, what if I just went through and did the thing that I didn't want to do?
Do you know what my hack is? And like, it doesn't work for you in this situation, but like when I have like a convention or something I have to go to and someone's give me really important information, right? Something I need to be paying attention to. I'll think of questions I can ask, and that's how I keep myself focused, or else I just totally wander.
Oh yeah. No, I do when I'm editing that podcast, and I'm like, which I think is what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about like when I have to do like legal con ed or something. And so the information's really important. I need to be paying attention, but it's also really dry.
Well, so like if it's a topic that they're talking about that I am on the same side of as them on, like, I think it was something like they were discussing the labor shortage. And they were making these points about companies need to, have more benefits, and they need to be good benefits, and not kind of, hey, we put a soda machine in the break room.
Yeah, exactly.
Benefit, like it needs to be health insurance. It needs to show
an improvement
that they
of
actually
life.
value. Yeah, improvement of life. And investing in their employees' higher education kind of things, training them. And I was like, yeah, I'm all for this. But then there was another one where they were like, we're thinking about implementing facial recognition technology into retail. And I was like, I'm so against this. I'm grinding my teeth listening to this.
That's not, I don't like it.
But anyway, Enough of my opinions on that.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about Gwen?
Yeah, we do.
Let's talk about our good friend Gwen.
Yes. Let's talk about our friend Gwen, who we were pretending to.
Yeah, I don't know her. I wish I did. She sounds great.
Hi, Gwen, if you ever want to come on the podcast.
Oh my god.
And be actual friends with
us. Oh my
god. There's no way she's listening.
No way.
I'm just, bottling up that emotion and throwing it into the sea.
Can you imagine if one day Tessa Dare was like...
Oh my god.
But she'd be listening and then she'd tweet you and be like, I'm so glad you love when the Scott ties a knot so much. I love hearing about it on your podcast.
It every single episode.
Could you stop retelling my story?
Because we were having a little dilemma about, how do we feel about guests? Do we want guests on the podcast?
Yeah.
Yes, no. And I was, having a moment, and I was like, if I say no, then Tessa Dare can't guest.
Oh!
And I need to leave the possibility that she could.
We're looking big future stuff, so...
we're shooting for the moon, the stars.
But I like...
all that stuff.
I like our balance. I do. Kate and I had a beautiful author reach out to us and asked to be on, and so we're going to work on coordinating that, and we're really excited.
Oh, and we also interviewed a friend of yours.
We did, and her, at this point you will have...
by the time this releases...
You will have heard it, months ago.
You will have heard
our friend A.B. Wilson.
Yeah.
So...
We have quite a backlog of editing to work through.
You poor thing, yeah.
If you ever wonder why we're talking about Halloween when it's literally Christmas, that's why.
Well, but we did this thing where we just made sure we had a month or two stockpiled before we started releasing, because a week goes by pretty fast.
Oh yeah, and not every week do we have time to record.
Yeah.
So sometimes we just eat up some of our stockpile.
Yeah, there was a while where we were eating quite a bit of it. But it was the holidays.
Yeah. It was the holidays. It was a weird time.
We needed it. But okay, phase 3, retreating from love.
Phase 3. All right. So we've been through the setup where you establish the world and the characters and the plot. We've been through the falling in love, which is them getting to know each other. Mm-hmm. And now we're in retreating from love, which is them starting to have doubts about getting into this, while at the same time still kind of getting deeper in it with each other.
So the first beat is inkling of doubt. So this is when you've already laid the foundation of why these characters know this won't work.
Well, so you've laid down their no ways, their reasons for why they don't think this is going to work, why they preemptively thought we shouldn't get into this. And so inkling of doubt is kind of the first piece of evidence that they're seeing that kind of affirms this doubt in their mind. Well, if your heroine is going into this relationship with this fear of being cheated on again, and she sees some other woman's name in his phone, maybe, and she goes, oh no, he's texting other women, and then it's not all immediately oh no, I must break up with him now. Yes. It's oh my god, I have this little bit of fear in me, but maybe it's his sister. Maybe it's not his sister. I need to hold on to this and figure it out. That kind of thing. Obviously, that's just one example of how you would build up this arc, and how you would, this is the beat that kind of pays off that feeling, that doubt she enters the relationship with.
Yeah, I really don't have anything to add to that, because I think that was a really good way to describe it.
So, okay, do you want to do the next one?
Not particularly. Now that you've raised the bar,
do you want me to do all of them?
Yes, I'm just going to have a really nice listen.
Do you just want to echo the things I say again? All right. I'm sure this is such a great auditory experience for the listener.
All right, deepening doubt.
Deepening down.
So, they're still growing closer together, but the thing that Kate was just talking about, so she sees the phone number from the other woman that he's texting is still there. And now she's seeing more things to, support her doubt.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't want to steal this from
Please do. No. I think you're doing a much better job than I am. So.
Well, which is so funny because I feel like I so struggle with this getting to the once I'm at this part in the story, I struggle with executing it.
I feel like the second half, I just end up zooming through it. I feel like, honestly, this is the phase that I do without a whole lot of thought. And maybe I'm wrong. Okay. But, like, I'll be writing and I'm like, oh, that's the retreat beat, right? Like, this is just something, this is the phase that comes naturally to me. I have a hard time articulating it. Where, like, the phase before this is my challenge.
I feel like you do a good job. Like, you just told me before this phone call about an edit you were making and how you reread a part you had forgotten you wrote. And the line you told me kicked me in the face. I was like, oh my God.
I forgot I wrote it. Listener, I forgot I wrote it. And when I read it, I gasped. I was like, oh my God, that's so bad. And so, yeah, this is the beat that, like, just sits really comfortably in my money house and, like, I'm good. And so it's really hard for me to try to figure out, like, how to articulate what it is. Does that make any sense?
No, so it's funny, like, you have such a feel for it naturally, but I've, like, got it studied. And I don't feel like I could pull it off.
Well, then you're great for this podcast right now. So if you want to explain Deepening Doubt better for them, because I did my best.
Okay, well, Deepening Doubt is kind of doubling down on that
inkling
evidence. Yeah, like that whole, this is adding to my theory that I'm gonna be cheated on again from this example character's, thinking. It's adding fuel to that flame. Maybe she gets a call and it's his ex and she's like, this is the woman he was texting. And it's like, it doesn't need to be this character building up a scenario in their head, but it's things that add to, if they were to put together a little string board with, like, pictures and red string and
they've
pins.
Got it figured out. Exactly. They're running through the
like,
theories.
This is, like, it's evidence to them. It's them saying, this is something that happened, which means I can't trust you.
Well, and, like, that's the challenge with this section is you have to lay down the issues clearly enough that the reader is like, oh man, I see totally why she's putting 1 + 1 = 2. Like, I see totally why these things are adding up to her. You have to be able to still redeem the other character in the next phase.
Yeah, like, if you're okay, I am gonna dissect a Tessa Dare.
I was gonna say, so bit. Is it time to talk about
so which Tessa Dare book is
it? Scott ties a knot.
No, so I think the Scott ties a knot did this really well. But I'm gonna point to another book by Tessa that I love. I did struggle with it on, like, a reread. I was like, hang on, he did what?
What one is it?
This is Do You Want to Start a Scandal, which I absolutely adore.
I have not read that one.
Like, I love so many things about it. I just love the main character, Charlotte, because she's just kind of a little weirdo.
I love
like,
weirdos.
she's not weird, but, like, feel like she's got a bit of a stronger spine than I think a lot of Regency heroines get, which is not to say I don't like the meek Regency heroine. I do. But she kind of, like, she's, climbing out windows and she, like, that's the kind of thing she does. And so she's just kind of a little weird for her setting. And I adored her for that. But the thing that, like, so she's in a fake relationship with this guy who's a spy, and then now they're actually for real engaged, and they're for real in love, and he's like, well, I can take care of you and, like, give you a good home, and you can be Marchioness or whatever, but I can't give you my heart because that's too dangerous. And she's like, for real, dude. And I think he's trying to push her away, and he sets her room on fire.
Whoa.
And I know.
That's a big freak out, friend.
Like because I think he wants her to, like, really understand that she's in danger by marrying him because he's a spy and they can't be emotionally close. Okay. That is the thinking behind it. But it's such a fucking buck wild thing for a character to do. And it's like, if this were not Regency, like, if this were a contemporary, I would say, yeah, break up. But Regency, I'm a little more willing to, I feel like, suspend my disbelief. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. It's a bit further into escapism to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like people are allowed to do things that are a little more buck wild in things that are more removed from our current setting, things that are contemporary. I need to be extremely grounded.
Yes. Which I think might be why, like if I were to try, I don't think I could come anywhere near writing a Regency, because I don't know how I could wrap my mind around it. Does that make sense?
Oh, I feel you. Like, so I write my contemporaries, and then I write my fantasy or my
but you have
paranormal.
That really cute Regency that you haven't finished.
Well, I haven't finished it because it's so fucking hard to write. I keep going like, well, now I need to go and look up like what kind of language they used when they refer to, I don't know, a curtsy or a specific type of fabric. Do they call fans, or would they have called I'm trying to remember what it was, but I think it was a Julia Quinn novel, and I think she got so many letters because she mentioned a type of blanket in like one of her scenes. She just got just a passing mention, and then everyone was like, those weren't invented until the 19th century.
Wow.
Some historical writers get nailed to the wall for, naming something that didn't exist yet.
That's fair. People are truists.
People do get very ornery about that. And I do feel that way about some things, but other things, it's like, no, I'm willing to suspend. Like, if the characters are lovable enough and the writing is good enough, I will suspend a little disbelief.
Absolutely. Well, and then also, like, as a reader, anytime, like, something in Regency happens, I probably have my information from other fiction Regency, right? Like, I am in no way a historian. So I'm a great Regency reader, you know?
I think her name is Georgia Hewitt? I could be butchering her name, but I think she's like from the 1910s.
Okay.
1920s. And she wrote a bunch of Regency romance novels. And I think a lot of people assume because she was from a century before us that she got the details right. And so a lot of people base their knowledge on Regency romance from her and have written it into their books because she was so prolific. And then a lot of people are now going, well, so she's the only source we have on this? But we think this might not be a real thing.
That almost sounds more sketchy than, like, doing research and figuring things out, because the resources of research are so much more vast than she would have had available to her. She would have had to make a lot of things up.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing. When you read Shakespeare, there's, like, he'll describe something about, like, a ship, and people were like, yeah, that's how a ship works. But then, like, you go and you actually, like, learn about how ships work, and you're like, this is not a thing that exists on a ship in that era. So, like, he got a lot of things wrong. He got a lot of geography wrong, but because it was
he wouldn't have had the same resources. We can Google Earth.
No, he had no resources.
We can go for a walk, like, in Venice from our computer. Like,
you could put out a tweet and be like, I'm looking for a geologist, someone talk to me, and a geologist will find you.
Yeah. What a very incredible time. Like,
my favorite thing is, like, because I still have a Tumblr.
That's amazing.
Is, like, putting out a question on Tumblr and saying, like, so what's everyone's, I don't know, favorite wide calf boot? And then getting, like, 20 answers. It's like, all right.
So other people also have Tumblrs? It's not just you asking that question.
I'm not the only person.
Yourself.
I'm not the sole person left on Tumblr.
I don't believe you.
That's fair. It's me and all my sock puppet accounts.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're just sending yourself your own response about the boots. So, do you want to explain the retreat beat?
Yeah, okay.
I literally am just here to listen.
Is...
Apparently I am just here for the ride on this one. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Gonna make you do all of Fighting for
Love.
Love.
Good God.
Study it.
I'm gonna have to.
I feel like each of these beats is really just kind of more of the same.
I do.
It's just, now double down on that, double down. Retreat is kind of an emotional, I'm backing away from you.
Yeah.
I'm kind of on the edge of... like, what am I gonna do? And I don't really know, and I'm having all these second thoughts. It's, I don't know how I'm gonna be happy in this relationship with you, but at the same time, I've gotten in deep enough with you that I can't I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself after you.
Yeah.
Does that make
It
sense?
does. It does.
Because I feel like, just from, like, real life, you know, like, when, before you date someone, you have, like, you know how all your time is allotted, and then you date someone, and it's like, okay, so Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays nights, I see you, and Saturday and Sunday nights, we go out to the movies, I don't know, you figure out all this way that, like, they squeeze into your schedule, and all the points in the day where you text them, and you're like, hey, this meme made me think of you. And then when you break up, it's like, now I have all this extra time, and I don't know what I did before you.
This is like, so I saw this TikTok where this woman was like, talking about how she used to spend all this time to like make sure her like boyfriend of like 3 years knew like how much he meant to her and like stuff like that, because he was always insecure. And then they broke up, and she's like, now? And like, she's like, I practice zero waste, and I, you know, make everything from scratch, and I go for hikes out in nature. And like, she was just like talking about all the energy and like time she had to devote to other things that brought her more fulfillment than that relationship did.
Now I have all the time in the world now that I'm not coddling your feelings.
Exactly. So like, if this wasn't a romance, the retreat would be we wouldn't have to come back, you know?
Well, so we're not at the breakup.
No, we're not.
Yet, I don't think. Yeah, I would say Shields Up is kind of like, it's again that doubling down, but it's also like, I'm kind of getting ready to go. Like, I'm so hair trigger that
my foot is out the door.
One more thing is gonna make me snap.
Absolutely.
My hand is on the doorknob. But the thing is, I think Shields Up, your hand is on the doorknob. I've got a bag in my hand, and I'm looking at you, telepathically communicating with you. Say the right thing that's gonna make me stay. You know? Don't say the thing that's gonna make me leave.
That's an interesting interpretation. Because, like, for Shields Up, to me, I see it more so like, the Shields Up, I'm just waiting for you to say what's gonna make me leave. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Like,
yeah, and I think that's totally valid as an approach too.
Now, we are also looking at this from a third act breakup, and there are ways to do it without a third act breakup, if that's the route you want to take.
Well, here, let's come back to it from the top, looking at it from without a third act breakup.
Okay. Well, this is a challenging exercise for me.
Okay. Well, let's finish breakup.
Okay. Breakup.
I think it's
breakup.
Yeah. Breakup, self-explanatory.
Yeah. It's done, yo. I'm out.
Yeah. No, this is the scene where they say to each other, "It's done," or one of them says, "It's done," and I'm gone, or there's that realization of, oh, she's not coming back, or whatever.
Well, and you also mentioned in Well Played, he just stopped trying, or a character just stopped trying.
No, it was him, because he was like, oh, I've hurt you, I've lied to you, that's no basis for a relationship. And like, because he was trying to make himself be the man he thought she wanted, and he felt very much that it wasn't him. It wasn't even just that this is no basis for a relationship. It was, I'm not the man you want, and I can't be him, so we can't even start anything. And, you know, and he was like, I guess that's it then. And I really... like, he thought this is where it ends.
I really like that as an example, because, like, that's such a great example of, like, he is seeing the situation through his own flaws, right? He is so in his own mind about this. I really
liked the character work in this book. Like, it was such a refreshing way for the, because like I have read books where, you know, like I feel like in romance a lot of the time we do expect the male in a male-female relationship, we expect the guy to be the one who does the grovel, and I do love a good grovel.
I do, but like, you know, I want, you know,
if you set my room on fire, you have to grovel for it.
That's gonna need a big apology. Okay,
you're not coming back without it.
You're not coming back without it.
I think there is a kind of a standard formula that a lot of people use, which is he's hurt her, and now he has to realize, I need to apologize. I need to grovel.
And I do love a good grovel, but I always want it to come from the person who's actually done wrong. And it's kind of nice, like you said, like in a male-female story, it's kind of nice when the person in the wrong is the woman, just because it is kind of more different than most romances tell.
Not even in the wrong. The person who needs something emotionally.
The person who needs the
some
biggest
kind of validation.
Change sort of thing?
Maybe, yeah. I'm having a hard time putting the right word on it. I think I want to stick with validation, though. Just in the example of...
We were talking about Pride and Prejudice. And, like, I think I might be able to string together a thought here. Where the first time he says, I love you, he lays out all the foundation as to how he can continue protecting himself from what he's sure she would never reject.
Puts it all up there.
Yeah. But, you know, he's still protecting himself.
Absolutely. And it's kind of like, I'm making an argument, all right, your move. And, like, he says some real shit to her. He says, I've looked at how shitty your family is. I've looked how poor you are and your status
and how disappointed everybody else around me will be.
Yeah, and how fucking reviled in society I will be if I marry you. Please marry me.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, you really sold me on that, bud.
But this is, like, a really good example, quote-unquote breakup without the third act breakup. Essentially, we're having the inkling of doubt more so that, and maybe I'm wrong here, but, like, Lizzie is starting to, like, put together the evidence that maybe Darcy isn't rotten. Do you agree?
I would put that this happens kind of in the second quarter of the book. So first half, I would say that it kind of does happen backwards a little bit, because she hates him from the start, and there's, like, no question of her, like, hating him. She never wants to not never, but, like,
she really, like, she has no desire to know him. She has no desire to have her beliefs in him contradicted.
Yes, exactly. And then it's that when it's been such a while since I read Pride and Prejudice or watched.
We can go off the 2005 version.
I know.
Guys, that's what we're doing, okay, listener?
A lot happens that is about redeeming Darcy.
Yeah, because her opinion of him gets so jaded so quickly. And, like, her evidence is real, but then we learn more about him. And the fact that, like, Pete Davidson has a quote from his mom that's like, just because you're crazy doesn't mean you get to be an asshole, right? So I don't want to, like, be like he has social anxiety, that's why he's an asshole, but, like, that's the truth of it, right? Like, we know that now, but we don't know that at the beginning, and he really does say hurtful things that she overhears.
Yeah, well, like, I also, as much as I love Pride and Prejudice, and even the 2005 version, I would not use it personally as a beat sheet. I would not model a story off of it, because the way that the drama is and tension is paced out is, I don't think, particularly conducive to
modern writing.
Most stories, these modern writings. And I say that, I want to say in, like, the scope of, we have already talked about The Green Knight a number of times. I don't know if I've edited anything that we've said
Which
about
I still
it
haven't
yet.
seen it.
I think
because I'm the worst. Also,
yeah,
I
have
totally
cut out a good amount.
Good.
You know, so I saw a thing about The Green Knight, and I saw someone had posted their thoughts on it, and someone said, "This is so slow, don't watch it." And I kind of had a laugh, because I was thinking back to that conversation we had where I said the filmmakers of this really tried to return to the roots of storytelling conventions that happened that were of that era. And maybe no ancient Welsh people are around to fully appreciate the way this storytelling is happening. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because the storytelling conventions are so different from back then to today. Though the symbolism is different, the lessons that are imparted from the text, the themes are very different than anything we would appreciate. And so the pacing is different. And the very structure itself is different on a level that, while you can still tell the story, I think a modern audience has a lot of questions they feel aren't answered. But when you watch The Green Knight, or if you were to hear the story of The Green Knight and you were a person of that era, you'd say, yeah, this is complete, it makes sense, it doesn't need anything added or subtracted. But to us, we're like, well, I feel like you need to explain the 5 knightly virtues before you make him jump through a bunch of hoops based off the 5 knightly virtues. Because no one these days knows what not no one.
Yeah, but like, it's not common knowledge.
Particularly well versed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's working on a different premise. Right? A different like set of
storytelling that is inaccessible on some level to our time period of audience. Not time period, but us, our modern day people as an audience.
Well, like, because if you're a romance reader now, it's not saying that you wouldn't enjoy Pride and Prejudice, the book, if you knew nothing about it.
But it's also not necessary.
But it's also not written to the same. It's not written to the same like pacing that we are normally used to. The details that are included are not what we would normally include in modern writing.
Yeah, exactly. So the part of what redeems Darcy in the book, you know that scene where Lizzie is kind of touring around his house, thinking he's not there? In the book, this is such an important chapter. And in the movies, to me, it's always like she's digging around in his house.
Yeah.
This is such a bad idea. Why is this here? But when you read the book, it's talking about how I think he, for that era, is doing what we would consider sustainable tree farming.
Oh,
does that make sense?
Okay.
There's certain forests in the UK which are very old and established, and therefore harvesting trees from them is kind of, I don't want to say frowned upon, because I do think now at least there are legal protections. But back then it was very much if it's your land, you can decide to cut them down or not. And, maybe you get a lot of good wood from it, but it's also, like, back then, not sustainable. And so so she looks around and she learns of how he is good to his tenants, how he is, into all the sustainability shit. I think, like, today, literally, I was watching that A Castle for Christmas Netflix show, and it was not a perfect movie, but I was charmed by it for many parts of it. And there is a part where he has a degree in like ecology or something and sustainability farming, and he plants some trees with her. It's very cute, and it's also like, that's such a modern touch.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, this is literally why Lizzie looked at Darcy and went, oh, I see that you're a good man.
Yeah.
I see that you put so much care and effort into everything around you and everyone around you. And that all gets omitted in the movies.
You know what's interesting?
Because I don't feel like there's a really good way to
it's not I can't think of a great way to express that. It's not very conducive. But what's interesting is, like, I've never watched, well, I'm sure I have, but like in the 2005 and in the BBC special, I'm trying to think of, like, how I knew she was coming around to him, how I knew that, like, he was good. And there was definitely a lot in the fact that he, like, wrote her the letter.
Yes. I think the letter was the finishing.
And that's, like, what really, in those mediums, like, that's what really, like, lays a seed of doubt for her. And she's starting to wonder. But the third act breakup in Pride and Prejudice doesn't happen. There's a controversy with her sister Lydia, and so they're separated, but they don't break up, but they were also never technically together.
See, I kind of consider the late night visit from Lady Catherine de Bourgh, I don't know, shields up breakup kind of moment. Okay. Dark Knight.
I could see that as Dark Knight. That's no, I wouldn't even see it as Dark Knight. I would see that as Wake Up.
So here's a thought. I think she knows she's been considered romantically by Darcy, and he wanted to marry her, and even though she rejected him, she is starting to fall for him. And so she is having these kind of romantic inclinations, and she's getting ready to say, maybe I was wrong.
Okay, the way I see it is like there's Lydia and then they're separated, right? Well, she starts learning more, and like the whole like Lydia fiasco is Dark Knight, but then in the wake up beat to me, there's her there's Lydia letting it spill that Darcy was there and he discovered him and like paid for the wedding and like all of that. And so Lizzie is really putting together like, oh my God, I am fully about this guy. Like, he has saved my family from ruin. And then there's the Lady Catherine de Bourgh, and I feel like that's still a part of Wake Up, because at that point, Lizzie's like, if the opportunity ever arose, I would jump on it.
Well, so here's, I want to put in, like, the historical context. Okay. When Lydia runs away with Wickham, not only is she sullying herself in society's eyes, she is casting ruination upon the entire family. Yeah. And so it's not a matter of, okay, well, now I love Darcy and I would totally jump on it. I think she realizes that she is also spoiled goods now because of her sister's actions. She accepts and she realizes that even though she's in love with him now,
there's no way it could ever happen.
He is totally within his rights to want nothing to do with her.
So would you say
that moment of where
you would place that in like Shields Up is where you would place that?
I would put that Lydia's whole, messy adventure is kind of that Shields Up breakup.
Okay.
The last time she sees Darcy, because she's received the letter and she says, oh my God, my sister's in a scandal, she looks at him and she knows, this is the moment where you leave and you have nothing else to do with me. I'm never going to see you again. And she doesn't really have any time to, I feel like, in the movies, bring forth her emotion about losing Darcy because she's so preoccupied with, what's going on with her sister. And I feel like it does show up a little bit in the conversations with her sister Jane, but they don't really flesh it out a lot. But it is when her sister, I agree with you, when her sister says, oh yeah, Darcy paid for this. He came to me immediately, found me, discovered me with Wickham, and put this all together. When she spills that to Lizzie, that's Lizzie going, oh my God, he came in and swooped in and did everything he could to put my family back together.
But he's still gonna have nothing with me?
Oh, no. She doesn't know if, this was him making up for what he did to Jane and Bingley. She doesn't know if, she doesn't know, like, where, like, how much of his generosity to, like, she doesn't want to, like, you can't expect someone to be generous to you, And she knows she's in a dire situation.
I still stand by my assessment, but I see what you're saying.
Oh, no, I'm saying you're right.
Oh, you are?
I'm just saying, I'm saying you're right.
Because I very much
I'm just
feel
saying,
that I
here's
am.
a little more historical context to, like, really flesh out those emotions.
Okay, cool. Because I thought you were still putting all of that in phase 3 and not phase 4.
Oh, no.
You agree? Okay, cool.
No, we're leaning into phase 4. We're fully in phase 4 by then. And she still doesn't know that she's going to get Darcy back at that point.
Absolutely. He doesn't know if he's going to get her either, but he has done the grand gesture.
Yes. Okay, so we're, like, so off base.
Yeah, but, like, it's still really good information.
The breakup beat is them breaking up.
Yeah, them breaking up.
Except so for away from Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah, but there are other examples of, like, they aren't broken up, but they are separated. Right? Like, if you have, an abduction or something like that, that's the breakup.
Like, maybe, they're, like, having some kind of interpersonal tension that was leading up to the breakup. You're cold to me because you're stressed out and, like that kind of emotionals. And then, oh no, I'm kidnapped.
Exactly.
And them getting back together is enough of an emotional catharsis that they don't really need to be like, let's talk about our 5-year plan.
So that just reminded me of Andrew and I will play like Guess Who, but we'll come up with like goofy questions instead of like asking like, do they wear a beret? You'll ask like, do they smoke pot? right? And one time, I can't remember what happened, but somehow Andrew knew the one, like my card, right? At the very beginning. So I had one question I could ask, and I asked, like, do they have a 5-year plan? And he's like, they do. And I was able to guess exactly who it was. So, yeah, so that's what 5-year plan reminds me of. Well, listener, this has been an episode of Romance Writers Therapy.
No.
Your
writing advice.
What?
The writing advice.
The writing advice? What am I supposed to do with my writing advice?
Remember?
Oh, shit. That's right. We're going to do our thing. Okay. You go.
That thing.
You go. You're right.
Oh, okay. I would say it's good to have 2 projects that you're kind of working on at the same time, if you're able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because when one of them is stressing you out, you can always switch to the other one and work on that until it stresses you out, and then you can work on the other one, and you can just use them to bounce off each other with procrastination. I found it works wonders.
Kate and I both do this. And it is a total, like, savior for me. I have to say it's harder for me to write, like, a chapter and then go back to editing. But I think mostly that's because time constraints. I have taken a step back, and this isn't necessarily writing advice as much as, like, advice for, like, a writing quote-unquote career. But, like, everyone's like, oh, you have to do the social medias, this and that. And that's true. That's absolutely true. You want to connect with readers. But ultimately, you need to be able to put out content of what you actually do, right? So, like, I've taken a step back from writing just because, like, I'm bogged. I can't do social media right now at this exact moment and write. And I would rather be working on putting actual book in world. And so I think just know your priorities and trust yourself, and all the things will be there, because there's always something else someone thinks you have to do.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And this has been an episode of Romance Writers Therapy. I am Marty V. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Marty V Author, and you can also find me and sign up for my newsletter at www.martyv.com. If you need to email us, you can email me at martyv@martyv.com. I feel like that's...
You're saying that because I got
Yeah.
And you were like, just forward it to me. I know you can't handle this.
It's not that you can't handle it. I know that you don't want to handle it. I am the communicator of the two of us. So if you want to communicate, by all means, you can. martyvauthor@gmail.com or martyv@martyv.com.
Yeah, Marty's much more sociable and definitely wants to talk to people.
It's true.
I think
it's true.
If you catch me at the wrong moment, I'm very likely to just turn into a hermit crab.
It's true. The cutest little hermit crab.
Adorable. I'm just a
so
shell.
Cute.
There's nothing here.
I would be alone now. That is what I think about every time. Okay, and then we have Kate Pryor. You can find Love Laugh Lich on Amazon, and you can find Kate on Instagram and TikTok at by Kate Pryor. Is there anything else you want to tell them, Caters?
Don't stress out about writing so much.
Yeah. Try to, yeah.
That's such fail advice.
Yeah, I mean, we all try, right? Like,
yeah, no, I would just, like, try to enjoy it. Focus on making it your joy.
Yeah.
And, fuck, I don't know. That's not what you were asking for, was it?
I mean, no, but I think it's true.
No, I was on a different wavelength.
Yes, but I do think you were right. So.
Okay.
All right.
I don't know. What kind of thing were you expecting?
Just if there was another, like, point of contact you wanted included, your website or anything.
Oh, no, I have a website, but don't go there.
Don't talk to Kate.
I don't exist.
I need to go in my shell now.
Yeah. I gotta go live there.
The world is exhausting, and in all fairness. So.
It is, but also, like, I was thinking about this earlier, because, like, my cousin once went to Germany, and he came back, and the thing that he talked most about was that the doors, every room has a door. There's no open concept, according to him.
That's, like, apparently true in the UK as well.
And so that's very true for my house, too, because some guy built it by himself, like, 100 years ago.
Okay.
And... So, like, at the beginning of the pandemic, everyone was like, I despise my open concept. I can see my husband across the house. And he's making too much noises with his chewing.
That's hilarious. Andrew and I, so Andrew had the whole month of April off, right?
Yeah.
And we were, like, so in each other's business. We had such a great time. And I was like, can we just be independently wealthy? Like, I don't want you to ever go back to work. Like, this is amazing.
Aww.
And that is my dream now.
Nah, that would drive me crazy.
Oh, man.
I used to work at the kitchen table, and then every time someone came out to get something from the fridge, I would be like, go back into your cave.
You're the table gnome.
Yeah. And then my mom was like, you can't keep doing this. You need to find a room to hide in like the rest of us.
I really love that. That's amazing. All right, Kate. I love you.
All right.
I'll talk to you later.
Bye.